to you from the corporate headquarters of Escorts Kubota, and I've got the top management here with me. Doesn't get bigger than this. Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Nikhil Nanda, is here with us, as is the President of Finance and Group CFO, Mr. Bharat Madan, as well as Seiji Fukuoka, the Deputy Managing Director of the company. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us and for letting us come here with all of our crew, meeting for the first time since COVID-19. It's great to do in-person interviews. Mr. Nanda, I'm going to begin with you. It's very rare that you see an Indian promoter dedicated to professionalism the way you have been, dedicated to succession planning as well as you have been, rewarded by the stock markets. This year the stock is up nearly 20% year to date. What I would like to talk to you today, beginning with, is the midterm strategy plan that has been outlined, where exports is going to be playing a big role. Let's start with that.
So before I talk about exports, thank you, Niyantara, for coming here with your crew. I think in today's context, you have to put your country before the organization. So professionalism and professionalizing this transaction through Kubota is, in my view, institutionalizing the company. And I think the company has now all the ingredient strength between Escorts and Kubota to do what it must in terms of delivering its value to the customers. I think this partnership is going to bring in a lot of technology, a lot of strength of what Escorts had for the last 76 years. Kubota is a global major brand, and their products and our products complement one another. And I think the midterm business plan that we have shared with our shareholders talks about 2.5 times growth by FY28. So it is going to be a mix of all the products that we're going to develop, the products that we're going to develop vis-a-vis the differentiation which we believe we will bring in creating those products in terms of the marketability that we believe we will create for the growth that we want for the domestic market. On exports, we are amongst the lowest in comparison to our peers. Kubota has a very large network across the global markets. And we believe with the products that we're going to design and develop, those products are going to complement and also meet the aspiration of growth that Kubota has in those global markets.
Mr. Nanda, it also must be said, the institutionalization, professionalism that you're trying to bring in, succession planning, is also very rare for us to get a company management that provides targets for 5 years, 2000, all the way to 2028. That's what you have done, 2.5 times revenue, the way you were saying. But let's build on all of this. I'd like to ask you now, sir, you are the big Japanese giant that is going to be with Escorts here, the massive partnership that has been announced. Can Kubota do with Escorts in India what Suzuki did in India with Maruti? Is that the plan?
もちろんマルチと同じようにできると思っています。で、マルチ鈴木はインドでとても素晴らしい成果。
Of course, I think we can do that. Maruti has left a very good example of success in India, and if possible, we would like to take Maruti as our ideal and go forward with this.
います。
Okay, so Maruti is going to be the ideal, and with that, Mr. Nanda, one question. Maruti did that by making small is beautiful, which was the Maruti 800. We know Kubota is a global leader when it comes to the small and the light tractors. Is that going to be the big strategy?
So Niyantara, Maruti Suzuki is a very big example for all Indian corporates. We are so proud of that example. And I think this partnership is more about the culture that will come of Japan and India. So we are going to create products which are going to be required for the kind of solution that we would want to give to our end customers. Be it lightweight, be it heavyweight, be it the kind of different products that we're going to create by the two cultures coming together. This partnership is very strategic. So we make the heavy duty tractors. Kubota, as you rightly mentioned, make the lightweight tractors. And we are also in our medium-term business plan talking about setting up a global R&D. So we're going to complement our skill sets and create products which are going to be different, unique, and give the kind of solution and application to the Indian consumers and consumers outside India. So absolutely, small, large, heavyweight, lightweight, all of it, whatever is required for the Indian context and the global context.
So can I ask you, because you brought up the R&D center, we're coming to you from your headquarters in Faridabad, where there is an R&D center. Will new ones be set up? Where?
So in our medium-term business plan, we are aspiring to grow 2.5 times, and that growth will not come without products. So technology is going to be one of the key focuses. So we're going to create a global research and development center. And we have also given our aspiration of setting up a greenfield project. So we will create capacity up to 300,000 tractors up till FY28. So product designs are going to happen in India, and also in the future, the global R&D will extend support to Kubota's need for the global markets for products that they would require in their markets outside India. So combination of both domestic and international markets of all kind of research.
And Mr. Madan, if I can come to you, it was also said in that medium-term strategy that nearly 5% of the net profits will be put as far as new R&D goes, and nearly 40% for return to the shareholders. I'll begin with the latter first. I know our viewers will be wanting to know a bit more about that. What do you mean when you say nearly 40% for shareholder returns?
See, Escorts already had a dividend distribution policy in place, which provides for distributing up to 20% of its net profits to the shareholders. Now, obviously, with this partnership with Kubota now, Kubota has a global policy where they do 40% of the net profit as a distribution to the shareholder or through a buyback. So our aspiration was, since this is a partnership coming together of both the companies, so we should also align our goals in line with what Kubota has for its shareholders globally. So which is why we also, given this aspiration of going up to 40% of our net profit, which can be either distributed as dividend or it can be a combination of buyback and dividend both.
So meaning buybacks are coming? At least one buyback?
See, as of now, if you know, I think the combined shareholding of promoter doesn't allow you to do any more buybacks because the listed entity requirement is to go up to 75% maximum for the promoters. So yes, there is a capital reduction phase which is underway, and we expect that should get over within maybe 5 to 6 months' time. And then the merger of both two joint ventures with Kubota is altered into place. Once that is done, the combined shareholding of promoters will be roughly about 68%. So that gives us a window to go for buyback of 6 to 7%, in future, depending on obviously the cash position of the company. So first priority for the company definitely is the investment in the organic growth for the company. And that will be the first priority, because if you can deploy cash, so nothing like it, if you can generate better returns there. And obviously once you got a surplus money and surplus liquidity, so that can be utilized for, possible buybacks in future.
And Mr. Madan, can I ask you, the September quarter, it was not what the markets expected, it wasn't what shareholders expected or what the analysts expected, and that was reflected soon after in the share price as a knee-jerk reaction. Is the worst behind when it comes to the headwinds that have been faced, whether it's on margins, inflation, all of that?
Well, yes, we hope so, because if you see in the last 7 to 8 quarters, the inflation and the raw material prices have been, extraordinary. We never seen this sort of unprecedented inflation in the commodity prices, especially with this geopolitical situation in Europe and with Russia. So obviously that has created more issues. So till Q1, we were actually facing very, strong headwinds in terms of the inflation, and that's why the possibility to pass it on to customer was very limited. Even now, we're carrying some bit of, unabsorbed inflation on our books, which probably by end of Q4 we expect, will get neutralized. So hopefully FY24 should give us a good, trajectory back to the normal level of margin. Though it's not going to be very sudden, because the way you've seen the margin declining over the period of last 7-8 quarters, it'll take a similar period maybe to gradually increase the margin.
7 to 8 quarters of normalization.
So it'll be a gradual, improvement which will happen, and which you'll notice probably in the coming 2 years.
Okay. Mr. Nanda, I was reading a previous interview of yours where you had also said the third generation not doing business with money, but doing business with a purpose. It was an interview to a sister concern, the Economic Times, soon after the partnership was announced. Can I ask you, when you institutionalize the company, when you announce this partnership, are you also factoring in what the fourth generation's role is going to be within the company? Will we see maybe Kubota hiking stake?
So talking about purpose, firstly, I'm very proud of the founder of Escorts, Mr. H.P. Nanda, who was a refugee, and he always put the institution to serve the nation, and Escorts' purpose has always been to do and contribute to society. He was actually a botany major, not an engineer, and his wish was to contribute in his own small, humble manners of creating a mechanization, and that's how we got into tractors. So this partnership also reflects that. And my grandfather always mentioned that he wants to bring the world's best to India and offer India's best to the world. So Kubota, which is the world's best, is coming to India to bring in the kind of mechanization which is purpose-led towards the productivity and contribution towards Indian farming community. As for the third generation is concerned, I have been working in the company for the last 25 years, and in the last 6 years, I was very, very certain that Kubota is a partner that one must go towards, because they're the world's largest and they can bring so much good to India. And to the question that you asked about Maruti Suzuki, I do believe in my heart that this is another such moment where Indian consumers can experience something different. This is again about Japan and India coming together. As for the fourth generation is concerned, we will see. It's a very professional company, and if they would want to be a part of the organization, it would be discussed and seen in the later part.
So nothing decided. Mr. Nanda, can I ask you one question? And I'm going to ask both of you this one. How are you going to bridge the gap with M&M when it comes to market share in the domestic market?
So I don't want to speak about a specific competitor.
Because they're the number one. That's what I was asking. And your plans are to be number one.
Firstly, we have deep respect for M&M, and we have deep respect for all our competitors. Our philosophy is to focus on our own self in terms of the improvement that we can make as a company. We want to evolve, we want to contribute, we want to add to what products we have, we want to learn from each other, which is the Japan and Indian culture. There's so much of learning that can happen and will happen between Escorts and Kubota. Actually, this transaction is not just a mere transaction. This is a more strategic partnership that has happened, not only for the Indian market, but for the global markets. And I think our growth will come in simply by satisfying the customer. We want to be unique. We don't want to be a Me Too player. And I believe in my heart that vis-a-vis with the partnership that has now been announced between Escorts Kubota, this is an opportunity for Indian and Japanese engineers to create that wow experience for the customer. And once we have that belief and that connectivity with our customers, be it in India or outside India, that will take us towards the growth we want, be it in terms of shareholder returns or in market share.
In association with ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India Limited, smarter steels, brighter future.
ये लो अब खाओ कद्दू इसके चक्कर में
to come to their own conclusion.
Cash Tamanna Inamdar on India Development Debate all through the week at 9 p.m. on ET Now.
Stock markets is a numbers game, and it sometimes does come across as one-dimensional. But what people don't see is that these numbers, when strung together, tell a story. There's no really black or white. It very much seems to be a work in progress of triumphs and mistakes, greed and fear. And I bring you that story behind the numbers in action.
The problem on coming on your channel is that you already know everything. I just heard your introduction. And what can anybody add to that?
I think the nation watches you every day, many hours during the day.
So Nikunj, that's why I love to interview with ET Now and all of you, because you somehow seem to know the language that we speak.
I should watch ET more often. You guys have changed the whole world.
This is a very insightful question that you're asking, Nikunj, and almost seems like you were listening in on the deliberation the committee was doing.
All leaders in individual sectors.
What's the sense that you're getting on volume growth?
Just clarify this entire case.
What is it going to mean for the business?
What is a mandate?
It was clearly one of the biggest deals.
ET now have been getting you bit by bit.
To create the kind of products which will give us a compelling reasoning for having the customer turn towards us. And I think that is where the strategy is going to deliver in our medium-term business plan. So the growth is going to be about giving the right product at the right price, at the right place, and consumers to know that this is a product, it's uniquely different. And I'm extremely excited about the opportunity now that Escorts and Kubota have. By bringing in the skill sets. You asked Fukuoka-san about whether the transfer of technology is going to happen quickly or whatever in basis. Our engineers are working together, as he mentioned. So the Global Research and Development Center, all the kind of products that we are developing and will think about will happen in the Indian soils. So we are going to be a company, and Kubota is going to be a multinational company that's going to be local in its understanding and its design build-up and execution. So for all our competitors, the story is same. We want to differentiate, and we want to embrace our customers and get their respect.
I understand that Escorts and Kubota, for the various products that will be developed, engineered, there will be a royalty. Has all of that been figured out already?
No, so it will depend on case-to-case basis. So I think as we discussed, there will be a joint product development exercise. Now it depends on where that exercise happens now. If there's a product platform which is actually from Escorts side, then there may not be requirement to pay any royalty. But if the product platform remains from Kubota side, then because the tax regulation and the transfer price regulation, some royalty payout may happen. But there's no tie-up or no understanding as of now. I think we'll move as we go along and see how the product development exercise happens in India. And as and when it required, then we'll take a call at that time.
Okay. So with that, all those finer points have to be figured out. So Mr. Nanda, can I put you in a spot and ask you, the Greenfield project, the capacity expansion, which all has to take place, what kind of timelines are you working with? We know what the numbers have to look like by 2028, but in the run-up to that, when will the new factory be up? When will the new R&D center be up?
So Niyantara, this is a very good question. I think most of the resources and our priority is to basically create the kind of infrastructure, capability, ability, because a lot of this plan is bases the capability of the R&D center, and for them to design the products and give us the products for the 3 brands that we have, which is namely PowerTrack, FarmTrack and Kubota. Our current capacity is already stated in the balance sheet, and for us to deliver the aspiration that we have for the domestic market and for the exports, we would definitely need to add to those capacity, and therefore the intent of putting a greenfield project. So I don't have a specific timeline to give you, but I can only assure our shareholders that we are very mindful and preparations are happening. We are scouting for locations, and when we are ready, we will announce all that needs to be announced. But it will happen sooner than later.
How conscious are you that you're trying to do something which will also be a part of the government's China Plus strategy that we hear about so much, about the Make in India initiatives, build in India, build for the world?
I want to compliment the government, and I think it's a reflection of the policy that you have multinational companies who are now investing into India, and we are echoing, this partnership is echoing the principles and the strategy of Make in India. And as you can see in our medium-term business plan, export is going to play a very significant role and part in supporting the brands of the products that we have had in Escorts, and now Escorts Kubota, even to support Kubota brand in the overseas market. So Make in India for products of tractors and other farm equipments. And also we will, as we have stated in the medium-term business plan, we are going to create a global sourcing hub to support Kubota for their component requirements as what would be required for their global needs. So it's a combination of components and products which would be a hub from India catering to the requirements.
Would you like to elaborate a little bit more on that, Mr. Nanda? Because we know that you want your exports to be nearly 20% of sales. We know that you want to increase your revenues by 2.5 times. But to grab such a big share from the global market is certainly going to be a really challenging one, and this global procurement hub will have to be perfect.
So global procurement is a strategy to support Kubota in terms of their China-India strategy and what India can support and also support.
But it will have a downstream effect and impact and tailwind for Escorts Kubota too, right?
No, certainly. I think once we have the scale, it adds to the margins, and I think our shareholders can benefit from that. But what is your question? More about the global sourcing, or?
Yes, the global sourcing hub. How is that exactly going to work from your perspective?
So, in our medium-term business plan, we are creating capacity up to 300,000 tractors. And that's going to be one of the largest hubs even for Kubota's group companies across the globe. So given that kind of scale, it is but natural that the scale will have a lot of advantage even for the global sourcing, as Fuko-san mentioned, for additional volume that Kubota may need for their locational plants across the globe. So I think in sidelines to the global R&D, we're going to create a global sourcing center to do exactly that. So it will have a ripple positive effect for Kubota and for EKL.
So Madan, what kind of an investment are we talking about till 2028?
Well, our midterm business plan does talk about the number. I think it's roughly in the range of 3,500 to 4,000 crore. Now, as Mr. Nanda mentioned, so that includes setting up a greenfield facility, then awaiting our existing manufacturing facilities, new product introduction for which the joint development will start happening, And then getting ready for the new emission norms, so there's a lot of investment which will be needed for that too, which we are investing in right now. Besides innovation and the new technology, on which the company will be investing. So this is a ballpark number. Obviously, it will all depend on what sort of requirement come in, how the capacity utilization happens, and at what moment we need to invest, and how the inflation trend happens, in the next 5 years. So as of now, we think this sort of number is something which should be, enough, given the aspiration what company has set over ourselves for.
Mr. Nanda, if you would permit me to ask you this, we're of course talking a lot about tractors, we're talking about farm equipment, this partnership between Kubota and Escorts as well. If I look at your order book, and it's much smaller, you do have business in construction equipment as well as railway division. Now, if I were to just follow what's happening on the stock market and also, the infrastructure boost that is being provided, no ambitions to maybe scale up that part of the business as well?
No, certainly. In the medium-term business plan presentation that we made, we talked about all our three core businesses, agriculture, construction, and railway. And we have, put in that perspective in terms of the aspiration that we have, both in terms of the scale-up and top line and the profit. Construction, I think Fuka-san can also, if you would like to ask him that question, he has a lot of experience, and Kubota, globally have done exceptionally well in the mini excavators, and there are many products that are going to get added into that segment even within the current construction portfolio products that we have. So we do believe there is a good leg up possibility of growth there, given the fact that the government are talking about India getting to the top 3 economies of the world by 2030, hopefully at 8 trillion plus. So you need products, and we will certainly develop products to support that growth. And similarly for the railway, we have enough products which we are developing and will continue to develop to meet the aspiration of the top line that we have already presented to our shareholders.
Okay, this is one family, and when will we see the first product developed and sold by this family?
We are already doing a lot of work. There's a huge transitioning, huge cultural upgradation that is happening, which I spoke about, of the best of India and the best of Japan.
Have you learned Japanese?
I will, hopefully by next interview I'll pick up a few words. But I love Japanese food, I love Japanese culture, and we also have a very powerful board, and we are very fortunate to have certain members who are coming in from the culture of Japan, and we have so much to learn from this country. And I think the marriage of the culture, marriage of India and Japan, I think will have cascading effect of positivity. There's so much positivity and so much that we need to look forward to. And I'm also learning so much every day. And it's an exciting moment even for me personally.
You've said it before, but I think it's also good to say maybe in front of camera, those are written interviews, the family's commitment towards Escorts Kubota.
So this partnership, the Nanda family did not even sell one share.
Exactly.
So I'm doubling down on this partnership and the growth of what this partnership will have to serving our nation, our society, our farming community. And also it's a great opportunity for not just my family, but for my entire leadership team and for my all stakeholders who have loved participating, working in this platform, to be part of the next chapter. And I think it is a moment in time when now Escorts Kubota can serve the need of the Indian consumers and the need of the consumers outside India. So we are proudly flying the flag of India and having Escorts Kubota represent a company that can be proud of Made in India.
Can I ask you who approached who for this partnership? Who made the first move?
Maybe that conversation for another interview, but all I'll say is, and let Fuka-san say what he wants to say from his perspective, but marriage is about both coming together. It's
how diplomatic. The art of compromise has been learnt.
No. I think the comfort and the love and the alignment happened over a period of time. If I were to be specific, I mean, it was sometime in 2016 that I approached Kubota. In 2015, we had done a study across the globe to understand how other brands are growing, and Kubota came as a clear brand that was winning markets in wherever they went. So we were, and I was convinced that if the future has to be built for the Indian consumers, we need to bring in a global major brand. It has to be through partnership, and that I think is one of the strengths of Escorts. We have always partnered with many, many companies, if you see it in our history of what Mr. H.P. Nanda did.
Correct. And would you like to come in on this? I was asking him, who asked who out first for this culmination of the marriage that did ultimately take place.
You're asking, it's like a date, huh? But let him answer.
まあ結婚
Just like to answer that we looked at each other's feeling and thought we should go ahead.
ゴールインしたと。
Oh, absolutely. And we're, of course, seeing that. And like I said, the stock markets have, of course, given a big thumbs up. Ambitions to be the #1 when it comes to the domestic market. Huge plans as far as exports also go. The top leadership team of Escorts Kubota only on ET now. Hopefully, we'll get another interview soon once they know their plans when it comes to the Greenfield project and the first product is rolled out. Thank you, gentlemen, all of you, for giving us time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
अब पापा देखिए, आप लोग को छोड़ के मैं कहीं नहीं